Alerting everyone else in practice as to what's going on sometimes can be a challenge. While some of the system providers have systems to help you, they're not always the greatest at doing that. And in this episode, I'm going to show you a tool that can help you in practice to let you know what's going on with your members of your team quickly, effectively, and more importantly, safely and easily as we tech enhance your primary care and learning with EdgeBits. Hello, EdgeBits learners, and welcome to this episode where I'm really happy to be joined by Ryan from EdgeBits. We're going to be talking about various different things, including how you can keep your team safe. How are we doing there, Ryan?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Hussein. So I'm Ryan Edridge. I'm the IT director for EdgeBits. So we specialise in primary care solutions and implementation of infrastructure, PC refresh, mobile working. So we're very involved in digital transformation within primary care across the country. So we've developed quite a few solutions specifically around primary care, which we're going to run through today, and how they can sort of benefit you as a practice.
Yeah, definitely. Now, me and Ryan have had a few chats about the various different tools that they offer and stuff. And in particular, this kind of safety tool button thing is quite awesome in what it can do. And I think definitely has different applications depending on which systems you're using. So slightly more relevant, I think, to those potentially with EMIS compared to System 1, but some really cool things irrespective of that that's going to help you in practice. And I'm really keen to show you what this can do because I was kind of impressed in terms of what it will do and how, more importantly, it'll keep your team safe and stuff. So I guess, shall we start off by showing them what the tool is? That's probably a good place to start, isn't it?
Yeah, perfect. We developed our EdgeAlert panic button based on some projects that we were working on for a couple of ICBs in the south of England. So they were moving to a mobile workforce. And when I talk about mobile workforce in primary care, it was really around people using laptops with docking stations, moving between sites, PCN working, and making that sort of a fluid journey. So one of the products we developed, which I'll talk about a bit later, was our print management solution. So when people move between GP rooms, they click print and it prints. Historically, the clinical applications have always been designed for PCs, and in the last sort of 5 years, people have started using more laptops, as I say, PCN working, moving between sites, more practice working together. And that's kind of where we saw a bit of a gap in the market in terms of what the applications can do. EMIS also recently disabled or removed their panic button. So we got quite a lot of interest then from some EMIS practices across the country. So I'll show you what our panic button does, but I think where we add real value is our business intelligence reports. Because of the way the application is designed, we can provide some really cool business intelligence for practices at a really reasonable cost, we think. So yeah, I'll get stuck in. So it's a floating desktop icon. This is our panic button. It sits over all other applications, so it's always available. It will sit over your EMIS, it will sit over System 1, it will sit over Vision. So we've got some Vision practices. We've got Vision, EMIS, and System 1 practices that are currently using the software across the country. We also have the ability for a physical panic button, so that is an option. They're USB panic buttons, which fully integrate with our digital panic button. So you have that as an option should practices want a physical panic button as well. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like under the bonnet because this is where, again, we feel it adds real value. So we designed the application based around mobile working, but we wanted to cater for all scenarios. So the way it works is we need a bit of information in the background. So we would need your IP range, so we know what network you're using, and the software is intelligent enough to know which site you're at. So it will know that you're at, if you're on a PC or on a laptop connected to that that network, and then it will give you a pre-populated list. So the drop-down list we manage centrally from our data center. but we would ask you for the list of sites or locations. So we cater for off-site working, so remote working. So if people working from home connected to the VPN, they can still use the software. And then again, if they're in their rooms. So if you're a static device, you're a PC, consulting room 1 never moves. The first user that logs in, they will just select their room, and it's machine specific, so it only has to be done once. Click stationary device, click OK, and it will never prompt them. So consultant room 1's a PC, it never moves, so it's always there. But as I say, we cater for mobile working as well. So we want to cater for PCN staff that work across sites, or GP practices members that work across sites. So we want that application to work off the network as well. So therefore, if you connect to the Wi-Fi and the Wi-Fi at your practice isn't on the same network, or you're from home, you'll get a drop-down list of the sites to select. And this is just an example, so it will give you a list of the sites. So you can then select the site and then select where you're located if you're a mobile user and you work across a PCN user that works across multiple sites. All of our data is centrally hosted, as I say. So we update everything in real time, so we can see who's online, who's offline. What I'm going to do is just change the practice manager to facilities office, and as you can see, this will update on all of the users' devices. So this will update automatically on everyone's machine. So it gives you a real-time update of where people are located within the practice. And again, what I'm going to do is show you some of the reporting features while this is really relevant, and how that can benefit you as a GP practice. So I'm just going to show you on one of our live sites. And this practice has 2 sites. So we can see where everyone is, where they're located, if they're online, if they're offline, the time they were offline, and also if they're away. So for example, users might have gone to lunch, so we can quickly have full visibility of the practice and where people are, if rooms are free, etc. Again, our reporting features, we've got a user report, which again is really useful for seeing who's online throughout the day. And this covers their branch site as well. So they have 2 sites. So this will cover their main site and their branch site. We've got other practices that have 8 sites. That's our biggest practice in London. So they've got full visibility across their 8 sites centrally. So going back to some of the business intelligence that we feel this offers some real benefits on is specifically around a fire drill list. So again, we can see who's logged in, what device is logged in, the room that they're located, and the time when they're all logged in, when they were last online, if they're away, gone to lunch, or offline. So again, from a fire safety perspective, really useful. All of these reports are exportable. So they're all exportable to Word and Excel. So it's literally select your report, click export, and the report will export to your desktop. In case of a fire drill, you can also just click print. This is available to everyone, so anyone at the practice can literally click print, and that will print to your default printer. So it will print you a report, and this is an example of what the reports look like. So for your fire safety, you've got an auditable report for that. So just going back to some of the other useful features, we've got our alert history. So again, from a CQC reporting perspective, if we had a serious incident, we can see who's raised the alert, the time it was raised, the location, and the time to respond. So patients fainted or something. Again, you've got an audible track of all of those serious incidents that have been raised. And this is the report that we feel offers the most value, just because it's got several uses to it. So this is an asset management report, and there are quite a few asset management tools on the market. Most CSUs or IT departments have their own asset management. But the reason this is slightly different and offers, we feel, better value for you as a practice is the fact that it gives you the location of the device. So, for example, quite often local IT, they'll come in and say, oh, we've got 5 PCs, we need to be replaced. They'll know what the serial number is or the host name, but they won't know where the location of that device is, which often means that someone in the practice will need to go and find where those machines are. Whereas this is all updated in real time. You can quickly come in, see where the serial number is, who the last person was to log in, and where it's located. So definitely has the opportunity to save time for GP practice. It also tracks laptops as well. So, for example, from an asset management perspective, who's got what laptop is always a bit of a nightmare. Well, actually, you've got a real-time update. You don't have to keep an Excel spreadsheet because you can come on, sort by your laptops, and you can see who the last person was to log in, when they were last online. And it's got the additional information that you might need to know. EMIS sites, for example, recommend that everyone's upgraded to 16 gigs of RAM. Well, again, you can quickly see which machines actually could do with being either replaced or upgraded on the RAM, which will improve your performance as another example. And I guess from a practice manager's perspective, one of the things that this information has the a sort of added benefit is the data security protection toolkit. We all have to do this on a yearly basis. It's always a nightmare to do. One of the things that you have to evidence is an up-to-date asset list. Well, actually, you've got an up-to-date asset list. All you have to do is click export to either Word or Excel, attach that to your DSTP toolkit, and that's another tick in the box, another job done. So yeah, those are sort of the reporting features that we've got at the moment. We are looking at adding some additional reporting features, which I will go into shortly. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to run through the actual alert and how that works and what that looks like, and then sort of go through some of the information governance and security before we finish off, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Brilliant. So I'm going to show you 2 examples. So one as someone who's raising the alert, and then one as someone who is going to respond. Just so you've got two examples. So as you might imagine, double click, that sets off the alert, and that will set off an alarm alert on all other devices on your network or that are authenticated against your network. It won't set off an alarm sound on the person who's raised the alarm, just in case you've got a violent patient, or you might not want them to know that someone's going to respond. So I'm going to respond to this alert. And as you can see, someone who's raised an alert. So I've got a patient lying in my hands. I know that someone has responded. So it will give you a real-time update that someone is going to respond to your alert. And it will also update everyone else who's on your network. So they'll see this screen and know that Ryan Test 2 in this example is going to respond to the incident. We have the ability to raise multiple alerts. So you might have more than one person raising an alert at a time. And also the ability to have multiple responders. So you might have 2 or 3 people that respond to an incident. And again, that will be reported. So,
and I can see the benefit, I think, in terms of that response mechanism to let people know that you're coming to respond to it. Because I guess I'm reflecting on, in my practice, we recently had an issue where one of my other team members raised an alert, but they were on the other side of the practice from me, and I was probably the furthest person away. And I didn't realize till much later because I was mid-consultation. So then rushing out to go check, obviously, actually people had already dealt with it. And realistically, people much closer than me would have got there first to help out. And I wouldn't have been probably as stressed trying to figure that out if I knew somebody else was already dealing with it, rather than me thinking, do they still need help? Don't they still need help? All that kind of stuff and things. So, yeah, I can definitely see the power of that.
Yeah, we've had some real good feedback. It's working really well in terms of that real-time ability to see the alerts, to see where people are located, and again specifically around mobile workings and mobile users, which we're getting more and more of now. It's just improving that whole safety experience. So I'm just going to raise the alarm on one of my other machines, and just to show you what that looks like as a responder. So this will raise an alarm, and the screen will pop up with the practice manager who needs support. So then we literally click on the practice manager, click respond, and again that will update the practice manager and everyone else to let them know that we are responding to that incident. You can also remotely stop the alert as well, so you've got the ability to stop the alert if need be. All of that is auditable, so we've got a full audit track of who's raised an alarm, when it was responded to. So for example, you can see the practice manager responded in 30 seconds.
Awesome.
So that's essentially the application, the benefits behind it. Just around from an IG perspective, so we as a company are available on several Crown Commercial Services frameworks, G-Cloud 14 to name a few, Midlands and Lancs CSU support framework. So we meet all of the national requirements. We are Cyber Essentials. We are pen tested regularly for all of our infrastructure. We're approved by most of the CSUs across the country now. So we've got people within the Midlands and Lancs CSU, which covers most of the northwest and central, Gem and Arden, AGEM, London, North Nell ICB, which looks after most of North London, and then we've got South Central West CSU, which again looks after from Bristol all the way down to Kent. We've also got some practices in Scotland, so we've got quite a big footprint now across GP practices in some of the areas that we haven't worked with before, which is really cool. The cost of the solution is £195 plus VAT, and that's up to 100 devices, which normally covers most GP practices. We've got a couple which are just over 100 devices, but it pretty much covers everyone. And that's for everything. So that includes the panic button, as well as the business intelligence reports. And I guess from a business perspective, we kind of feel that offers a cost neutral solution in most practices because of the added reporting features, certainly around the asset management. Not having to do an audit for someone to do once a year is probably more than 195 quid in terms of time to you as a business. So we kind of feel that it offers a cost neutral solution. So before I go on to a couple of the other bits that we're sort of working on in the pipeline from an integration, was there anything else that would be useful to sort of chat through?
Yeah, sure. So I guess a couple of questions. So first of all, that price, you're right, is amazing. You know, the fact that for less than 250, including VAT, you can have a solution that potentially save your practice manager several hours worth of work, but also a safety tool that keeps people safe and also alerts people to what's going on in the practice. And I know that you've got other things in the development, which we're going to come to, which absolutely you want to stick around to, because I think they're awesome. But I guess in terms of how people may want to look at this. So in terms of things like the onboarding time and the process, how does that work? And in particular, I guess I'd be keen to know what support you give in terms of things like the DPIAs or the documentation. You're in quite a lot of areas already, but I guess there may be areas you're not in, and that may take longer because of the lovely documentation that we now all have to do for everything.
Sure. So yeah, that's a really good point. So I suppose from a DPIA perspective, we've done quite a few of those, so more than happy to support with any legwork and onboarding process related to cyber or IG. Again, going back to the DPIA and those sort of things, we've done so many of them now, so it's fine. We're happy to support that. The onboarding process is really straightforward from our perspective. So the 195 includes our setup fee, so we include that as standard. So we'll set up the back end for you. So we just need a couple of bits of information, which are really straightforward. That probably take half an hour at max to do. So the key things are the IP address information, which we can get really easily. We need some practice information, standard address, sort of ODS code, and just the locations that you want set up. Because they're all centrally managed by us, if you need to change anything, we can do that easily, and that changes for everyone. You don't need to go back and like change it on each machine or anything like that. All of our updates are centrally managed. So when we add additional features or we make any security improvements or software updates, they're all centrally managed. So we manage those completely through our Azure. So we don't need local IT to do anything. You guys don't need to do anything. You don't need to click update. We manage all of that. So we try and make it as streamlined as possible. The only thing really from a requirements perspective for the practice is just around deployment. So there's 3 options. The practice can do it themselves. We've got some practices that choose to do it themselves. It's really easy. It's a couple of clicks to install the applications, job done. The only requirement for that is local admin rights, which some practices may have a practice administrator account. That would be required. The other alternative is we can provide engineering to do that. There is an additional cost to that, depending on where the practice is located. We don't really feel that that's probably the best solution, but we can do that as an option. And the sort of main one is that the CSU or IT provider that you use would deploy the application via one of their asset management tools. That's generally the most common route that's taken. As I say, we've deployed to quite a lot of areas already. So therefore, those packages have already been created or already available via SCCM or one of the other asset tools that IT providers use. So again, really straightforward. We give you the information, you log a call with local IT, and they deploy. But again, we're more than happy to support with any additional requirements that IT might require if it is a new area.
Okay. And from your experience, what's the typical time to onboard? So say, for example, practice wanted to contact you and say, right, we want to go for this. What's your average time before they're up and running with it?
So from our side, it's relatively straightforward. If we can get information back, we can get it turned around in a day or so, maybe a day or two. So all the back end set up. The thing that generally takes the most time is the deployment of the application, because we are reliant on the IT provider. Some IT providers, like for example, South Central West CSU, we've got a really good relationship with them, and they have a package already to deploy. So therefore, it is a quick turnaround. But again, that's based on their SLA, dependent on how busy they are. But generally, within sort of 5 days, it's been deployed, sometimes even quicker. But then if you've got other providers that might need to create the package from scratch, you're talking a bit longer. So I suppose on average, probably 2 weeks. But just to caveat, that is dependent on the IT provider being able to deliver that.
Sure. And you mentioned costs earlier, so 195 plus VAT, so less than 250 quid in total. You mentioned about that covering up to 100 devices. Does that include if it's split site? I guess just confirming. So in terms of if you have branch practices and stuff.
So it's a per site cost.
Okay.
I mean, if we have got a super small site that's got 2 machines, then we could probably do something to cover that. But because of the setup and overhead costs in terms of the networking, it's a per site cost. Yeah,
no problem. And you also mentioned about USB devices potentially that some practices may want to have as well. How much do they typically cost?
So the USBs are one-off costs, and they're $9.99 per button. as I say, they're one-off costs. So once you've got them, they're yours to keep.
Awesome. And I know, Ryan, you were going to talk about some of the stuff that's coming soon from EdgeBits. Now, this is some of the stuff that I think is even, enhances it even more. I mean, it's a great product already, but I know that when you've got these up and running, I think it's going to be something that will definitely help practices with a real problem that many have. Do you want to talk through a couple of those?
Yeah, so we've got some really interesting data, and it's how we present that back, and what benefits we can sort of use from a business intelligence perspective. So one of the things are around time logging. So one of the practices came to us and asked about time logging. Can we build some reports around that? So that's something we're looking at for some of our bigger practices. Might not generally be required for our smaller practices, and because of the variables in terms of how people work, there's some things that work better for others than the smaller sites. But yeah, that's something we're looking to add. So the ability to confirm, like, from a time keeping perspective, and just building on to that, we're looking at adding on some mobile applications, so for both Android and for Apple devices. So again, looking at how we can leverage the Azure infrastructure that we've got for checking people in and out of practices. So for visitor books, for example, so recording visitor information centrally, but also using the mobile phone as another conduit to feed back into your central database. So from a fire safety perspective, for example, if we can try and automate like the enter and exit of the building, so it improves your fire safety even more because you know that someone's in and out of the building. Also from the panic button perspective for remote workers, so people that visit patients, or they have the ability to use the panic button should they want to. So yeah, those are kind of the things that we're looking at from a development and next step perspective, is to try and improve that process within GP practice.
Absolutely. And if those of you eagle-eyed probably saw my eyes bulging when he was talking about that. I mean, those two things really sound, interesting and impressive. And, if you've ever been a partner or practice manager who looks at your signing sheets and realize that nobody's actually done it because everybody forgets, current included, that kind of solution sounds like, automating the process so that it runs with the person's device and works effectively. So you've got that safety tick there in terms of your fire safety aspects and things, and potentially that home working aspect as well as a real solution, particularly if you're working in challenging areas and stuff. I think they're really cool things that you guys are developing, and definitely enhance the service you guys are offering and stuff. So Ryan, if people did want to get in contact with yourself, what's the best way for them to do that, to find out more about EdgeBits and where they can find the tools and stuff?
Yeah, so from our website, all of the information's at www.edgebits.co.uk. Also from an email perspective, if you email myself, so it's ryan.edridge@edgebits.co.uk, or give us a call on the company number, and we're more than happy to talk to GP practice. One of the things that we're offering at the moment, which is probably worth mentioning, is our onboarding process. So we know that there are some practices that are currently in contracts with providers, but actually might choose that, this is cheaper and offers a better solution. We are able to offer a migration for free until the renewal of the contract. So, for example, if you've got 3 months left on your contract, if you decided that you wanted to move over to our platform, we can provide the service for free until the anniversary of your contract renewal. We also offer free trials as well, so more than happy to provide a month free trial so we can set you up. If you guys like it, great, perfect. If not, then there's no financial risk to the practice. So yeah.
That's some serious guarantees there, which is great to hear as well. So I think if people do want to find out more, then definitely contact Ryan. I'll put the links to those that you mentioned in terms of the website and the email address down below in the show notes. You can absolutely check those out. And I guess if you wanted to find out my opinions in a bit more detail in terms of what Ryan's been up to and stuff, then definitely check out this video right here. Ultimately, there's always going to be more information to help tech enhance your primary care and learning. So catch you next time.